All right, finna go ahead and get it started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast, episode number 119. For today's topic, we're going to be discussing one that kind of just came to me from a memory that I had a while ago. I forgot what guy said it, but it just came to me. It just came to me, and I thought it was very, very interesting. So I definitely wanted to speak on it today. So just for the topic is the topic for today is don't try to impress, just be impressive. So, with that being said, whether you're watching this or watching this live, I want you to go ahead and let me know in the comments, what does that mean to you? I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you what that means to me, and also hopefully give you some better insight on what that should mean to you for sure. So, a few things I want to mention. Make sure you go and follow me on TikTok, just Life of a Champ podcast on TikTok, as well as make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube Shorts, as well as my YouTube clips as well. If you can't catch a full podcast but still want to get the game that I'm spitting, make sure you go ahead and tap in with those for sure. Other than that, let me think. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, let's get into it, man. So I'm gonna give you the premise of kind of what this podcast is going to look like, and this is just personally what I see, right? So what I see is this: there's two different type of people that exist in this world, right? You got one who's the people that try to impress others, right? They do things with the intention to try to impress people, right? They do things to seek validation outside of themselves, right? And then there's people who do things and they just happen to be impressive. That's just what it is, right? They and those people they move to the beat of their own drum. They don't do things that they don't do things with the intention to try to get somebody else's validation or get somebody else's approval. They do it because they just feel that it is right to do themselves, right? And I see it time and time again within society where people are more like the first person, where they wear certain clothes because it just looks cool, or they do certain things just because it's a trend, right? Instead of actually like wanting to do that shit yourself and actually having some pure intentions with that. So, yeah, that is going to be the premise for today's podcast. So I'll definitely get into that for sure. Like I said, what does that mean to you when you first hear it? What does that mean to you? Um, and yeah, I would just say there are two different approaches of life, man. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Is there are two different approaches of life. And me personally, I'm not a person who's ever trying to impress anybody. All the things that I've done and all the things that I will continue to do are things that I want to do, are things that maybe I even found impressive from somebody else and said, you know what, I would like to add that into my own repertoire so I can build myself up that specific way. I admire that quality in somebody and I would like to replicate that myself, right? And there's nothing wrong with that for sure. But you must truly evaluate your intentions for trying to do specifically what you're trying to do in this life. I feel like a lot of people they're very very superficial with that, and I do believe you must have to think deeper than the average person in order to get a more than average life for sure. So yeah, let's get into that, man. Give me a second. Gotta crack this open, man. Come on now. Give me 1 second, man. All right. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm saying, man. I want to reiterate this point, man. You must truly evaluate your intentions for doing anything. The few questions that you could possibly ask yourself is, am I doing this for me or am I doing this because I want to look a certain way? Some examples that I see that people do is they try to dress a certain way. And me personally, this is the way that I see it, right? There's people who wear flashy things like certain shoes, certain clothes, certain brands in order to try to get compliments from other people, right? And then there's people who just wear they could just wear average shit and they're still gonna get attention. Let's keep it 1,000, right? They could just wear a nice fitted shirt and some decent pants and they're still gonna get compliments, right? So so my thing is this, right? Don't if you like that specific brand, if you think that shit genuinely looks cool, not because other people think it looks cool, but just because you genuinely think it would look really good on you, then do that, right? But I see too many people that are what we like to call hype beasts. That anytime they see something that's trending, or anytime they see a certain drop of certain kind, that they're quick to get it because they know that other people like that shit. They might not even, and there's plenty of people that don't even exactly like that shit, but they do it. They get it just so somebody can come up to them and say, "Wow, man, those are some nice shoes. Wow, man, you really have that shirt." They do it just for that wow factor, just for the attention. They don't do it with pure intent. And that I feel like that's a huge problem because even if the shit doesn't even look that good, they'll get it anyways. They're quick to get it. They're quick to get it and try to show it off to people instead of just being impressive. Like I said, I would much rather be the person who just looks impressive, right? Who's worked on themselves physically to the point where I could wear a $5 t-shirt, it still look better than half of the people at the place, right? There's people that try to impress, and there's people that are just impressive. Now, which one do you want to be? Which one do you want to be? And it's gonna look like just doing your own thing. Realistically, that's what it comes down to, is just being genuine and doing your own thing. Um, yeah, the most impressive people are doing their own thing. Let's keep it 1,000. They just do their own thing, and people admire them for doing their own thing and being their own person instead of just saying, man, you know what? These people think this is really really cool. You know what? I'm gonna start doing that just because I think other people will think it's cool. Like, no, you're lame. You're lame in my opinion, man. So yeah, that is yeah, like I said, I use the example, man. I could wear a $5 t-shirt. It'll be a nice fitted shirt. I could wear some decent pants versus a person who could just just wear they buy a $500 t-shirt or buy $1,000 pair of shoes, right? Just to get that wow factor instead of just getting what they like, fitting wearing clothes that actually fit their body, right? There's certain things like that, man. So like I said, you get to decide in this life, right? You get to decide whether you want this specifically. You want to live for the approval of other people? Do you want to get validation from other people? Or do you want a person that's just gonna do what they want to do and not have any superficial tendencies or behaviors that kind of stem from what you want to do? Um, like I said, those you just observe people. Just observe people, man. The people that are the most impressive, do you think they do and have cool shit just just so they can get approval of other people, or do they just do dope shit? That's what I'm saying, right? Evaluate the intention of those people, man. 'Cause I just seen the reason why I had to call this out, man, is just because I see too many people. They just live for other people. They try to live. They try to live through. They try to live through compliments. They try to live through certain things like that, man. And it's just not the most genuine way of living. And it's honestly it's what I would deem to be a character flaw. Whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, right? I see there's plenty of women that do that same shit as well, right? I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example, right? And maybe I'm off on this, and if you're a woman in here watching this, maybe you can go ahead and correct me, right? But is it not that there's certain women that buy certain brands just because it's that certain brand, and then there's women that buy, like I said, they could just wear something cheap and they're still gonna look good. You see what I'm saying? They're still going to be impressive instead of trying to impress, trying to get the validation of somebody saying, "Hey, oh, you got that fancy brand?" Like you see what I'm saying? And it goes beyond trying to look a certain way physically, right? Um, this could be deemed in any capacity, right? So like let's just say for a skill, for example. Um, Maybe people will choose a certain skill because they know it'll get a reaction of somebody. Instead of genuinely having that passion for that, they'll say, "Hey, I want to learn or do this because I know that this will get a certain type of reaction." Instead of saying, "You know what? I have a true burning desire that this is going to fulfill my purpose, so I'm going to do it." Right? Evaluate truly the intention you have behind it. And if you see yourself slipping up, man, you need to start asking yourself the question is like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this for other people? And of course, there's going to be certain occasions where you need to do things for certain people, of course. But what I'm saying is, am I living for other people, or if I'm living for myself, right? And of course, like I had mentioned, there's going to be certain occasions where you're going to need to live for other people, of course. But but you should be the first type of um you should be the first person that truly evaluates that truly wants to do that. Not the first thing that should come into your mind should be you, and it shouldn't be, oh yeah, the reactions of other people, right? So, I'm trying to give you an example with this with a certain type of skill. Like, okay, let's just use this for example. Let's just use this for example, right? People's intentions with the gym. People's intentions with the gym for sure. Like, okay, I'll give you my specific intentions within the gym, right? When I go into the gym, the reason why I go to the gym is a lot deeper than most people's. I'm gonna let you know that right now. I'm trying to better my mental. I'm trying to better my physical, and more importantly, for my longevity of my whole life. That's why I do it, right? There's certain people that just do it because they just want to look a certain way. And now that does, of course, that is a small element. That is an element of my own personal thing. I would like to try to look as best as I possibly can, but I'm doing that for me. I'm doing that for me. I'm not doing it to try to get compliments. I'm not doing it. I'm not like I said. I'm not doing it for the validation of other people. I'm doing that because that is what I want to do. I've always been the type to try to test myself physically. I've always been the one that's trying that is athletic, right? So that is definitely that just felt fitting in my grand scheme of life, just to pursue something like that, instead of working out to try to get compliments, right? Me, for example, right? I get compliments because I put the work in, right? But I don't do it to get compliments. I just happen to get compliments. Does it make sense? I'm not doing it to try to be impressive. I just do it and it just happens to be impressive. Does it make sense? There's little things like that. There's little things like that. Also, another thing that I think will resonate with a lot of people watching this as well is give me one second, hold up. Is with self development. Self development is a huge thing right now, and a lot of people are trying different habits and trying different trends because they think the shit looks cool instead of truly wanting to do that yourself, right? Before it actually hit the mainstream, I was on self development already. I've already spent about 5 or 6 years of my life dedicating it to self development. So before this shit was actually cool, I was already on that. All the habits and all the things that I did were not because I wanted to look cool. I did it because that's just what I wanted to do. Now, I see this trend of people that are doing shit just so they can look cool or just so they can post it on social media or just so they yeah, they just have a very superficial reasoning for why they want to do what they want to do instead of saying, "You know what, man? This is what I want to do. I want to do this because I want to better myself." See what I'm saying? There's like I said, there's two different people, man. There's two different types of people in this life. You must choose which one you are. To try to be impressive should not be your main focus. It should just be a result of your actions. Nothing more than a result of your actions. It should be a consequence of your actions, not the main intent that you have going into doing something. And yeah, I see a lot of people doing literally whatever it takes to get that validation from other people. They live, they live through other people in the worst way, right? You can live through people in the best way. They live through people in the absolute worst way possible. And it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame because here's the thing: when you're really genuine, right? You can recognize when certain people are just doing things for the reaction. They're doing things just for the post on social media. They're doing things just so they can have this certain persona about them instead of just doing it because that's what they want to do. And it's something that I see, and I just shake my head, man. I'm just like, man, come on now. Come on now, you're better than that. I know damn well you truly don't want to do that, but you're just doing it just to look a certain way, man. I know it. I know it. I can feel it. I can see it. I can see when things are not genuine. And just like everybody watching this right now, you can see when things aren't genuine. You can see when things aren't as real as people try to portray, right? Give me one second, man. Give me one second. Yeah, your main intent is going to say a lot more about your character. I feel like doing things for certain conversation is it's kind of iffy, I would say. Doing things strictly for the type of conversation that you can have, I would say that's okay. That's okay to an extent, but it also depends on what it is. If you're trying to have a super intellectual conversation about something, and whatever you do what you got to do in order to have further intellectual conversations. But if it's very very superficial interaction, like I said, like a compliment or something like that, then that's not something that I would say is particularly okay. You don't do things like that. Like I said, if it comes to having a conversation that is intellectually based, there's you're gonna want to do certain things to have that conversation with certain types of people. So, for example, maybe you read a certain trending book, right? Just so you can have some type of intellectual conversation with people that might be on the same wavelength, as opposed to oh yeah, I heard about this one book and I just want to talk about it to people, right? And you haven't even read the fucking book, right? You do it just to try to have this superficial level of conversation instead of to have this deep intellectual conversation. Like I said, you must evaluate the intent that you must have. Yeah, and people act ways that they're not. That's the main lesson. That's the main lesson in this podcast, man. Do not act ways that you're not. Be genuine. Be genuine. That's what it comes down to, man. And one other thing I want to mention with those certain type of people that do it for the validation, they do it for the approval. They must truly recognize where their self-worth comes from, because I don't believe it comes from the most wholesome place. It comes from an external source. All your self-worth should be internalized. This should all come from your internal self, you putting in the work. You do what you like. You're moving genuine. These are all things that should come from inside, not coming from this external source, right? And with anything in life, man, if you can have this internal purpose, this internal why that goes deeper than like I said, just having a conversation with somebody. Um, yeah, you're gonna be in a much better place, and you're not going to depend on other people to have some type of self worth, which I think is the absolute most poorest thing that somebody could ever do, is doing things with the superficial reasoning and having their self worth be very 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 shallow, instead of um, having a deeper sense of why and deeper sense of understanding your own self worth. Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to go ahead and get people to avoid. Jaden, appreciate for stopping by. Is I don't want people's confidence to come from an external source, because if you don't get it, you're not feeling good enough. If you buy this fancy thing in order to get compliments and you don't get compliments, you're not going to feel good enough. You're not going to feel worthy. And you should feel worthy and you should feel good enough by your own sense of self-worth, right? By what you create for your own self. Um and like that's pretty much what I'm trying to avoid with this podcast. I'm trying to get people to become conscious to their intent, and there are certain things that they do, and possibly, like I said, sometimes this can even be unconscious, right? And I do believe that there's going to be a lot of people that this might resonate with, that it's going to be a very very unconscious feeling for you, instead of, hey, like, you might have to take a step back and say, why am I doing the things that I'm actually doing? Am I doing them with the best intent? Do I have a strong sense of self-worth that comes from the internal source and doesn't come from the external factors, right? Think about these things, man. You must think about these things. Yeah, that's all I gotta say, man. Do what you want to do. Don't do it because other people think the shit's cool, man. Do it for the own personal experience. Do it for your. And even here's the thing: you can do the same thing. So let me get this right, man. You can do the same thing, regardless of what it is, right? I'll give you an example of what it could be, but you must rewire your reasoning. Your reasoning must be much deeper. For example, let's just say um, you're picking up on a certain habit that you see that's trending within the self development community. You see it, and it does help people, but you do it just so you can show it off to people. Let's just say, for example, I'll give this example, right? Um, the cold plunge. The cold plunge is one that I see a lot of people doing, right? The cold plunge is one of the most trending things within the self development community when it comes to habit, right? Obviously, if you don't know what the cold plunge is, basically it's this big ass tub of ice water, and you get in it, and it has a bunch of physical benefits and mental benefits that you can reap from that, right? And you got people recording themselves doing it, obviously, things like that, right? Now, you recognizing that that's a trend, you recognizing the fact that you want to do it. Now you must evaluate specifically why you want to do it. Do you want to do it just to get the attention of people? Just so people know what you're doing? Or do you want to do it for a deeper sense? For a yeah, for a better reason, for a better reason, right? I want to do this for my health. I want to do this because I'm trying to see improvement within my mental whatever, right? I'm trying to get better sleep from doing this. I don't know if it actually helps better sleep, but you must have a deeper reasoning. Your first level of reasoning must not be superficial reason. Now, it might be a result, right? And that's perfectly fine, right? If it happens to have a result, you can't control that, right? But it must not be something that you do. It must not be the first reasoning that you have when you try to explain it to somebody, right? So yeah, that's what I will say. That's what I will say. That's just the example that I use, but you can pretty much apply that to any specific example you would like in life. But you must truly analyze whether this is something that is worth doing, and also if you don't get any attention from doing it, are you going to be content with it? Are you going to be content with making that decision? Are you going to be content with spending that much money on a piece of clothing? Are you going to be content with choosing a habit that might feel very, very uncomfortable and you might not get the attention that you want? Are you content with the result of your superficial reason failing? If your superficial reason fails, what is there left? What is there left? Right? If you have a deeper sense, it doesn't even fucking matter. It doesn't matter. At that point, it just doesn't matter, bro. Yeah, like I said, hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say, man. But yeah, give me 1 second. This is actually not that bad, man. This is my first time having this one, man. This one's good, man. This one's good. All right, give me 1 second, fellas. Like I said, if there's a specific thing that shit, if there's a specific thing that resonates with you within this podcast, and maybe you can even give me a certain example, right, of a certain thing regarding the topic. Obviously, if there's a certain example that you recognize a lot of people are doing, I want you to call it out. I want you to call it out in the comments for sure. All right, give me 1 second, my man. Also, one thing I want to mention as well, which I don't think I don't think I say enough, but I definitely want to get you guys' input on, is if there's a specific topic that you think that would be interesting for me to go ahead and dive into, make sure you go ahead and leave it in the comments. Like I said, whether you're watching this or watching this live, I definitely want to get some more of topics that you guys will be personally interested in. I have plenty of ideas that come to me when it comes to this podcast, but I definitely want to get I want to get the community's input of certain things that, like I said, might be intriguing topics, and they don't always have to be self development based, right? That's just something that I love to talk about, so that's just something that I'm going to talk about and have the tendency to talk about. But if there's anything regarding any of the topics that I'd like to talk about, like maybe a societal observation or a societal trend that's going on, or a conspiracy theory, or somebody just released some type of music, right? Whatever that may be. If there's Yeah, if there's something like that that you think is worth me talking about, make sure to go and leave in the comments, man. Any recommendation's gonna get very thoroughly reviewed as a possibility. So for sure. I was thinking about talking about another topic as well, but I don't think I'm gonna talk about that topic because I think that one needs its own separate podcast, man. Give me 1 second though. Man, I'm gonna say this one more time, man. The topic is never try to impress, just be impressive. So when it comes to people that you view as impressive, right? Whatever this is, whatever role model you have, whatever ideal figure you see, right? I want you to pick up on certain tendencies that make them the way that you perceive them to be. Pick up on those certain things, and you must recognize that you can adopt those certain things, those same personality traits, um, those same physical attributes, whatever it is, right? Those same skills, whatever it is, you can attain those certain things as well. And I want to reaffirm that for you. You can do those same things. There's nothing limiting you except yourself in this life. You can do all those same things, and in turn, not that you want to do it to be impressive, but you want to do it obviously to build yourself because out here you're trying to have more of a deep reasoning for why you're doing what you're doing. You will then be impressive to people. But you don't do it. Like I said, any move that I do, I don't do it to impress people, man. I don't. If I wanted to impress people, I'd be making some videos about some dumb shit because people get off to some dumb shit, right? People get off to some entertainment, right? But I'm not here to try to impress somebody, even though I probably could get a bigger following off of some dumb shit. Like I said, it's easier to get a bigger following when you're not making quality, super quality content. You're just making entertaining content, right? But I'm not trying to impress. I'm not trying to impress with this. If it happens to be impressive, if you happen to find interest in the topics I'm talking about, fantastic, right? But if you don't, you don't, man. Um, but yeah, like I said, you must evaluate the reasoning for what you do. So, like I said, if there's a certain thing, that's a good topic right there. That's good. That's good. That's good. Actually, I'll mention that. I know drinking and smoking is something people get into because they think others will think they're cool. 100,000%, they do it, and they might not even like doing it. They might not even like doing it, but they'll do it because the shit just looks cool. And what it comes down to is this, and yeah, this is another element of this podcast, man. Are you a follower? Or are you a leader? That's what it comes down to, man. That's what it comes down to. Are you a follower or are you a leader? And that's a perfect example right there. A perfect example, Jaden. Appreciate for you leaving that comment. But are you doing shit just so you can look cool? Or are you doing it because you genuinely want to do it? You genuinely have some curiosity. You genuinely have some passion or desire to do it. I could say the same thing about many different things when it comes to drugs of choice, right? Do you do it just to look a certain way, or do you do it because you genuinely want to do it? You genuinely want to have that experience. Yeah, that is a great example, man. But yeah, going back to the point that I made earlier, man. Basically, this podcast that's pretty much the foundation as this is. Are you a follower? Do you follow certain things? Do you do certain things with a superficial intent, or do you try to be impressive by being your own by being a leader, man? That's ultimately what it is. Being a leader, saying, "Hey, that's going to benefit my life, and here's how it's going to benefit my life in these many ways. So I'm going to do it." And in turn, you're going to be impressive. You're going to be impressive. And another thing that also is a factor within this, right? Not that you're doing this to be impressive to people, but hard shit. Do some hard shit, man. Whatever you perceive to be hard, whatever you perceive to be a challenge, right? Now make sure your reasoning for doing what you need to do is worth it because that's the only way you're going to actually prevail when it comes to something that is difficult. For example, right? Let's just say I'm trying to give you something. What's something that's really difficult to do? Really difficult to do. I don't know. So let's just imagine, right? Let's just imagine, for example, right? Let's just imagine give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Imagine, for example, you're trying to accomplish something that's hard, right? With this being said, if you have superficial intent with trying to go ahead and accomplish what is hard, when the shit actually gets hard for you, there's no way you're going to be able to prevail. There's just no way. You're going to be able to fold. You're going to give up quicker if you don't have that strong reasoning for doing that. Now, if you have good reasoning and you want to do something that's hard, it's going to be a lot easier to fall back on those reasons. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't really take that into account when they go ahead and try to pursue something. For whatever reason, that's why a lot of people give up. That's why a lot of people say shit's really, really hard. When in reality, if they had the true good reasoning for why you should do things, then their entire result would look different, right? Their entire outcome of the thing that they tried to do, the challenge they tried to go ahead and be challenged by, uh, it would just simply have a different result. It would just simply have a different result, man. Yeah, pretty much. Man, like I said, I just see too many people, man. I just see too many people, man. Like another example I think is prevalent, right? Is tattoos as well. Tattoos is another thing I think is can fall into this, right? I didn't get this tattoo. I didn't get this tattoo mainly for the reason that I think it would look cool. That's not why I got this tattoo. I got this tattoo because it has a deeper meaning to me personally, right? There's certain people that get certain tattoos because they think this shit just looks cool. They have no why for getting it. They have no why other than they just want compliments for getting the tattoo. That's it, right? And I personally, I don't move any specific way unless there's some reason behind it. I don't move with this empty intent. It's just something that I just don't do, man. And yeah, that's the perfect example, man. Don't try to get something to impress somebody. Don't get a tattoo to try to impress people. Be impressive. Have a tattoo that has a cool story. Has a great reasoning for why you got the tattoo, and then that's going to be more impressive. Period. Regardless of what you have, I could have a smaller tattoo that's less aesthetically pleasing, but if my reason for getting it is deeper than yeah, it just looks cool, people are going to respect that. People are going to be more impressed by that. You see what I'm saying? Your intent with whatever you do and however you do it is going to say a lot more about your character than anything. Like I said, it's a difference between a leader and a follower. It's a difference between somebody who lives for other people's validation and somebody who moves to the beat of their own drum. It's just a different way of moving through life, man. A lot of people, they just, man, come on now. I don't even know, man. I could not imagine being one of those people, man. I could not imagine being one of those people, man. Like this, for example. Some people, they start a podcast because they think the shit just looks cool. And then they recognize how hard it is to even get to episode 10. And then they fail because they just did shit that just looks cool. They wanted the validation of other people. The reasoning for trying to do something is not strong. Now, if you're a person that's created a strong reasoning for why you're doing something, like I said, perfect example is a podcast. When you recognize the times will get hard, it's not if, it's when. If your reasoning for why you're doing what you're doing is deep, then you're going to be able to prevail. Whenever the times get hard, whenever you feel like not doing it, you're still going to do it. It is just as simple as that. Like I said, that is just one example that I use because obviously it's applicable, right? I'm not I didn't have any other ideas that came to mind, but yeah, for sure. All right. Like I said, if there's any specific example or comment that you want to make towards this podcast, in specific, if you want to stay on topic, make sure you go ahead and let me know for sure. Exactly, exactly. I would agree with that for sure. People want big things and expect it to come easy. I would definitely agree. I would definitely agree. It's not it, man. It's not it. I'm gonna let you know that right now, man. It's not it for sure. Everything in this life that is worth having is not going to be easy, right? And even if it is somewhat easy, if your reasoning for doing it still is very, very lacking, man, you're done. You're just done, man. That's all I gotta say, man. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, those are some good examples though. Give me one second. And I would say that sometimes this is going to be a tendency that we pick up on at an earlier age, right? And if you're watching this and you're younger than probably 20, you must evaluate a lot of the things you do. You do it to just look cool. I feel like once you get older and start creating your own identity outside of, other people, is when you get to really evaluate if you're doing things for other people and if you're just doing it for yourself. Um, yeah, and I would say that, like Jaden had mentioned, right? There's going to be a lot of people who do certain things, especially at a younger age, because they think it'll look cool. They just want to fit in. Are you doing things to fit in, or are you doing things to stand out? Think about that for a second. Are you doing things to fit in? Are you doing things that will make you stand out? Hmm. So that's what you gotta think about that, man. You gotta think about that. You're not doing it with the intent to stand out. You're doing it, and you just happen to stand out. It's different. It's different, man. It's different. Yeah. Ultimately, what this podcast is, man, people just don't. They just don't have very, very good reasoning for doing anything that they do. They just don't. So this is gonna be my recommendation for you. Make sure you have good intent for whatever you're trying to do, right? Make sure it's something that you truly want to do yourself and not something that you're just trying to do for the approval of other people. People, the people whose egos are the most fragile are the ones who do it for other people in a superficial sense. There's a difference between you doing it for other people because genuinely that would benefit them or genuinely they could take value from it and just doing it for the approval and validation of other people, right? It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense. I can give you a podcast example if you guys would like to hear that one. But like I said, man, people are just living two different ways. That's what it comes down to. People are gonna live two different ways, and you must evaluate constantly. Constantly, am I doing this because I'm doing it? Am I doing it because I want to fit in? Am I doing this to try to impress somebody, or am I doing it because I want to do it myself and I'm just trying to exist? And by existing, it might be impressive, man. It might be impressive. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna end this one off soon. So if you are in here and you want to go ahead and leave a comment regarding anything that I mentioned, like I said, whether you're watching this or watching this live, make sure you go and leave in the comments for sure. Give me a second. All right. All right. Yeah, I got a few good podcasts lined up. Like I mentioned, I want to know your guys' takes on a certain types of podcasts. I'm gonna go ahead. I want to start making polls, so make sure you go look out for this on YouTube as well as Instagram. I'm gonna make polls for. Do I want to expose that actually? Yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. There's gonna be certain topics that I'm gonna talk about, and I want to know specifically which one you want me to talk about first. So without giving away too much, I'll give you guys the premise of the podcast, the title of the podcast, and then I'll go in deeper, obviously, with when I do the podcast. But with that being said, I want some more community input with the things that I choose to do on this podcast. Because like I said, I could. This is the Life of a Champ podcast. So at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. But at the same time, I need you guys' um, input. I need you guys' input for sure because it's going to be something that is going to be worth watching a little bit more because it's something that you guys have more input on for sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the future of this podcast, man. That's all I really got to say. Reactions coming soon. Different camera angles coming soon, man. Yeah, you got a lot of things, man. What I will say is there's a lot of improvements. There's a lot of improvements that will be made to this podcast in this year. There's a lot of things that were improved upon last year, the first year of the podcast. But this second year, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of new changes. And if you're a fan and you're enjoying the content right now, the content's only gonna get better, man. It's only gonna get better with time. It's gonna age perfect, man. It's gonna age perfect, man. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one off. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Like I said, if you have a comments after the fact, I will definitely be responding to those. Like whether you have an example of something that is going to portray this exact podcast title, whatever it is, like I said, make sure you go and leave in the comments. Other than that, this was the Life of a Champ podcast, episode 119, talking about a great topic. Never try to impress, just be impressive, fellas. That's all I got to say at the end of the day. Do things with the right intent, and who knows? Somebody might be impressed. But don't do it to try to impress. Do it and just be impressive, man. Leave you guys off with the podcast motto, man. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all outworking these motherfuckers just like me. And it's as simple as that. Y'all have a good night. And until the next podcast, I'll be having another one on, what is it? Next Tuesday. So make sure you go ahead and tap in with that for sure. Other than that, yeah, like I said, make sure you go follow me on TikTok. Follow me on, or hopefully you already subscribed. If you ain't subscribed, make sure you go to subscribe and leave a like. Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your nights. And like I said, until Thursday, man.